Howdy nerds, Kevin with Gone Rogue Games. Finally getting around to do a video. It's gonna be late tonight as we were so busy today with orders and then Commander Night had a full store. And I was busy updating a lot of the prices for Magic the Gathering. It ended up taking all day to figure out exactly what I can still get from distributors and what prices it cost me to get them. And I guess that's where this topic is gonna be for today, is I was actually shocked at how quickly this market has turned. So let me show you some products here, and then let's talk about where the pricing is at with them, what used to be the norm, what then overtook it in the COVID era of the overprinting, and then we'll post-COVID era with overprinting to where nothing was moving and everything was in stock at distribution levels for, I would say, a good 5 years. And now the market we're currently in right now, and I don't even know if this market is going to change even more drastically within a few weeks, because the amount of products that I've had to taken off the list of available things that are able to be ordered has been crazy. So, all right, so let me back up here. The reason why I do this is I run a subscription service. I've talked about this channel before. Not trying to push you into it. If it works out for you, the more power to you. But this is where a lot of my knowledge comes from, is I'm constantly working with distributors, looking at prices, talking to customers, getting the feel of the whole overall market, doing orders, shipping orders, blah, blah, blah. That's my day-to-day grind. So I'm very, very well-versed in what these things cost, what they've used to cost, and where the market is moving. So let's go back to when I first started this gig. So the rule of thumb was that sets usually stayed in stock for about a few sets. You could get bundles. So I would say, what, four to 6 months, you could still get bundles, pre-release kits. And this is even, I started doing this before there was a thing called collectors, because I think we started doing the Patreon in Battle for Zendikar. No. A little bit after that. Amonkhet. That was really the start of it. I can't remember. Anyways, it was before Throne of Eldraine. We'll just put it that way. And the rule of thumb was that most distributors would have things in stock, not called draft boosters, because Wizard of the Coast had a different policy for draft boosters. Draft boosters were something that they would try to guarantee could be in stock for the entire lifetime of their standard playability. So let me even back up before then. Let's go back to Innistrad, not Midnight Hunt. Let's go back to old school Innistrad. So Magic the Gathering started taking off around Scars of Mirrodin, I would say. Zendikar, Scars of Mirrodin. We had a massive resurgence in Magic the Gathering. It's actually when I got back into Magic the Gathering. So I had taken a big hiatus, and I started coming back at that time. And the market, Magic was just a game that had plateaued for many years, since like Onslaught all the way from the Time Spirals. Magic was a game that some people play, but it didn't really hit the mainstream of nerd culture. And there was a nice little rhythm with Magic had like a steady increase on sealed prices. Cards were only valuable if they saw Legacy play or were currently in Standard. There was no such thing as Commander yet. I mean, there was very, very fringe people that played Commander. It didn't affect the market whatsoever. And then along came Zendikar. And there was a big resurgence of players playing the 1v1, especially Standard. And then they came out around Innistrad with a format called Modern. And it took off. And it brought a lot of players back into Magic the Gathering. And then Standard got incredibly hot too. So right around Innistrad is really where Standard was at its peak for that time period. And what happened was it kind of came out of nowhere. So the supply was not enough for people to build Standard decks, and we saw New Phyrexia go out of stock, and you couldn't purchase it at distribution level. And stores at that time too used to, like, drafting was very vibrant as well. So Friday Night Magics, what would usually happen when a set came out is people wanted to draft the new set, but then 3-4 weeks down the road, people would get a little bit nostalgic for some of the other sets, and so stores would go back and you draft other Standard sets. And that would kind of be the norm. And so the player base was pretty 50-50, split between draft and Standard. And I mean, I was a draft person at that point. The whole reason I switched over to Standard was when they combined the, before Planeswalker points was a thing that are now gone. They used to have the WPN, or not WPN, they used to have the DCI rating. And when they combined the DCI rating as one, with both limited and constructed, and then just merged into Planeswalker Point, that's when it forced me to switch over to playing more standard. But anyway, I digress. So clear back then, we had this debacle happen where people wanted to build standard decks, stores wanted to be able to sell packs, and there wasn't any. At distribution level, it was completely gone. And then Innistrad happened to Innistrad, and then it happened to Aventry Stored. So Wizards of the Coast made a new policy saying that they would guarantee to reprint standard-based draft boosters until they were rotated out of the standard format. And that provided some stability to the market, and people could rely. It also ended up to a lot of overprinting for especially Ravnica and Theros. If you still look back at prices for cards from especially the first sets, like the first sets of blocks, man, the market is still saturated with those sealed boxes as well as any of the cards that were contained in those sets. Because, I mean, just think of when before collectors, before all of the other noise that exists right now in the Magic the Gathering ecosphere in the market, there was just draft boosters. It was draft boosters and a few other things that gobbled up most of the money. So that's why that era, those boxes are definitely not rare, because they were massively overprinted to meet the demand of drafts and to meet the demand of meeting the supply of people building standard decks. And then Commander started getting big, and the Magic market just took off. And we went through a period too where distribution, usually if you wanted to buy stuff from distributors, you could only get the latest set. And maybe you could go back a few sets. Again, not just draft boosters. Draft boosters stayed in stock at distribution level, but anything else like bundles, things like from the vaults at that point would be gone. You just, master sets, they'd be available. You'd have this window of like a week, and then they'd be gone at distribution level. So that was kind of the norm. And then we went through the COVID era, or right before COVID era, there started to become a bit of saturation on the market with some of the, what we call the stinker sets, like Dark Ascension stayed at distribution for a long time. Amonkhet, Hour of Devastation, Ixalan, Rivals of Ixalan, Ravnica. You could still find even bundles and pre-release kits for a long time at that level when we had the first big stagnation period of Magic the Gathering. And then COVID hit, and it didn't matter what it was. If it said Magic the Gathering on it, it was sold out. And distributors absolutely were emptied of anything Magic the Gathering related. We saw, I still tell about this story where a distributor reached out to me to see if I wanted to buy Amonkhet bundles for super cheap. They're like 15 bucks a bundle or something. It was insanely cheap for a bundle. And I passed on it because I was just so overwhelmed with inventory at the time. And then right after that, everything Magic related just spiked through the roof. Then we went into so COVID hit, and then the distributors were absolutely emptied because of all the free money, and then hobbies went through the roof. And then led to Wizards of the Coast absolutely going into what I call printing hell, where they just print to try to think this was sustainable long term. It wasn't just Magic. Pokemon did it, Yu-Gi-Oh did it, all these other ones did it. And then distributors were absolutely overwhelmed with product. And then we went on this last phase where I would say from the 2021 era all the way to 2023, that I could get all of this, like pre-releases, I could get these until just recently, all the way back from Strixhaven era, even like clear back even to like Theros, yeah, like Theros Beyond Death. Like you could still get Theros Beyond Collectors editions until just recently. That's how saturated the distributors were. And even up until mid-2024, most of this stuff was still available, like pre-release packs. You could name a pre-release pack and you could still buy them from all of the distributors. It wasn't even just one distributor, most of them still had them in stock. So anyway, so that was kind of the phases that we went through. And now we're in this phase that after going through, kind of auditing my order sheet of what you could order, the pre-releases are gone. I can't even get Foundations. Like distributors are out of Foundations pre-releases. Murders of Karlov Manor, and because that was considered like a terrible pre-release, Murders of Karlov Manor and Modern Horizons 3 were the only pre-release kits that I can get from distributors. And that was insane to me because I've just been so used to being able to buy them to my heart's content. And not only that, but then a lot of them would go on sales. I remember some pretty sick sales for new Capenna pre-release kits. I know patrons ordered a ton of them when those got blown out. And because they ended up being like less than $2 a pack if you wanted to buy the kits that way, and you even got, you know, the dice and the promo. And then what was the other one? Martian Machines previous kits. Those were just blown out for 70, 80% off, if I recall. And same thing with bundles. Like bundles, they'd go on sale. And so now after looking at the distributor, bundles are gone too. There's like Outlaws of Thunder Junction bundles I can get, and Murders of Karlov Manor, and can I get Dustmorn? I don't even think I can get Dustmorn. But Bloomburrow gone. Things like Wildsville Drain gone. All these things that used to stay in stock for like a good 2 years are gone. And so now we're re-entering that era where you have to basically pre-order or buy within that 4-week window after release, or it's gone. So I am telling everyone, if you're a patron or not, if you want foundations, even though their foundations might be different, they might lead to subsequent waves because they want to keep this product in stock so newer players can actually buy it. But let's say if you want Dustmorn, I would not wait on Dustmorn bundles or collector's boosters or pre-release kits if that's something you want long term, because the day and age where you can order them for 3 years is over. And it wasn't just that. And this is the best, this is making me giddy because my business model's profitable again, which is so awesome. Oh, it was an awful couple years here. So these booster boxes, on one of the reasons why I have these are a lot of where this has been piling up is typically I got to the point where I had enough free capital, moving capital, where it didn't kill me to order things in advance. So if a patron ever reached out to me and said, hey, I want a box of this, what I used to do is I used to collect money. So how my operation works is that's why there's no risk to it, is I'd collect money, they'd pay me, I'd order it, I would get it, I would ship it to them. But then now I just got to the point where it's like, okay, what do you want? Yeah, I'll order it. And before I collected money, I would actually order the product. And unfortunately, this is what happens because you get a lot of, deadbeat patrons that sign up then quit before they, pay anything. Or you get people that misorder, that type of stuff. And you start to accumulate, quite a bit of backlog of stuff. And I haven't really been too aggressive on selling it because the prices have just been awful. A lot of times it's been right at TCG market or even below TCG market. In fact, that was what the point of this video was, is we had a good 2 years where booster box prices were at or below distributor costs, and I couldn't figure out how any of these idiots on TCG Player were making money, and they probably weren't. How their strategy was, and that's the one kind of thing about that era of 2021, is if what you did is you just did kind of the scattershot approach, where like 50% of the products were going to lose you money, 50% of the products were going to gain you money. Let's hope that the 50% that gain you money will actually gain you more money than you would be losing money. And that ended up like really saturating the market with all this stuff that did lose money. And most of all was always draft boosters. Like draft boosters I don't think made anybody money during that entire time period. But it was nice to see now that there are some decent spreads now from distributor price to how much it's selling on TCG Player. And even though it's only like $5 to $10 per box, or some of them are up to $20 to $30 on like Lord of the Rings, that is just so, that's such because not only can you just recoup capital, but you can actually make a buck. And we're back to the time, this period where, it's actually profitable to even sign up for like mine or Rudy's, Patreon and actually not only save money, but kind of flip booster boxes. So in 2021 to 2023, I think the only advantage to being a patron of mine is just convenience and being able to know that you can get stuff and then B, support a creator you like at the same time. And I'm so thankful for everyone that did stick around. Unfortunately, I'm thinking we're going to start seeing a wave of people that are just here to kind of, make a buck. And typically those patrons end up being a bigger headache because, they have no skin in the game for the success of this business or the success of this channel, or they don't see me as a person behind the sale. I'm just any other person. And at that point, people treat people differently when I'm just an unknown entity rather than someone they can connect with. But anyway, yeah, it was very, very nice to see that. I was surprised. These ones, Bloomburrow you can make like $15 a box now. And again, it's not apples to apples, where I complained about this in another video where people had kind of the wrong. When you used to make $15 on an $80 to $95 transaction versus making $15 on a $125 to $140 transaction, that's not the same. You can't compare the two because the cost of the good was more expensive. So the percentage you're getting is actually less. And so, people fall in that trap of utilizing price memory to realize, oh, I used to make this, and then they try to calculate how much per hour they make or how much per capital they put in, and it's actually a lot more dismal than it once was. But yeah, it's very, very interesting. So in the next few days, I am going to be compiling the list. Well, I have. Today I've been auditing a lot of things and going over a lot of products and putting together some of my favorite products. And one of the better things too that I've been noticing is this stuff is moving. It's not just like, typically in the past we would see like a couple boxes a month for some of these older sets. So some of that Core 2020, or we'll even go back to like Baldur's Gates and things like that, where it's just a couple boxes a month or a couple boxes a week. When we're seeing like 1 or 2 per day on some of these that are moving, and I don't know where that's coming from. I have some theories of where that's coming from that I talked about in my other video. It might just be people that have gotten back into the game that are now like, hey, I missed all these sets. I'm going to start to work backwards. I missed Baldur's Gate, I missed War of the Spark, I missed this sort of thing. And they're starting to buy these older sets and collect. Or just maybe we're back in that era of the pack crack addict where people are you know, the whatnot streams and all the other streaming where people are just like, oh, okay, we've you know, beat the death out of Dustmorn or Foundations. Let's see if we can, you know, let's see if people will buy some you know, War of the Spark, for example. See if people will do that. And that's actually led to that being stripped out of the market too. But whatever it is, there is a lot more demand for this product and it's moving, and it's starting to show on the margins on the spread. And so interesting time. Again, if you are a patron, I'm going to try to work my butt off to get some of the data up to give you a more realistic approach of what's available and how you can go about this. But Christmas season's coming up too. That's always well, this is something too that's been kind of counterintuitive with the TCG market. You think that Christmas time would be the best time for a lot of these products moving, but historically speaking, it's also the same time that a lot of these companies push out a lot of holiday specials. And so we had like Lord of the Rings, last year, and we've always had these like, and so instead of like all products moving, it's just those specific products that manufacturers push out. The real time when products move is tax return season. And so this year, with the holiday season actually leading to a lot of sales and a lot, not just that, not just like newer stuff, older stuff, it is really starting to show that this is like a really, really good market right now for the TCG world. So anyway, that's kind of my topic for today. I was going to go and do something else and show something else, but I lost my train of thought as usual. I am beat. I am burned out, and as you notice, I did an oopsie today and shaved my beard off, which now I look like a little kid. So I'm not liking this look whatsoever. So anyway, I'll go back to growing my beard that's getting gray streaks in it, and I'll go back to doing my old man job and wheedle away looking at spreadsheets and try to figure out deals for the TCG world. Appreciate everyone for all sticking around. This channel's been absolute fire. I'm liking all the engagement. I'm liking all the new patrons. I'm liking all the comments and all the interaction. You guys have been awesome. Thanks for watching.